Hi, it's Rebecca from Dystonia and me. This is just going to be a really quick vlog, as I need to run out the door. But happy Rare Disease Day! You could take this day in two ways, in like, oh, rare diseases, we should probably spread awareness, and it's not nice. Or you can be a little bit like, Rare Disease Days, great time to spread awareness, which is the view I'm going with. So, we're just going to talk really briefly about the 3 illnesses that affect me. You might not class them as a disease, but they are still rare and therefore included. One of them is included, I know, in one of the ballots for this year. So, we'll go really quickly. And I've talked about dystonia a lot. So, that's my brain sending incorrect signals to the muscles and causing them to go into a spasm, which provides a lot of hilarity because I could be walking and hit someone. My second week of uni I hit a police officer, which, you know, that's really good going, but now provides good entertainment. There's been times where my friends have literally been doubled up in laughter with me at the ridiculousness of my body, basically, because I don't have control. When I've got my Botox like I have now and everything's hunky-dory, I have a lot more and it's just the odd one. But when it wears off, as I'm due it, and when I'm waiting for it to kick in, it can be quite extreme. And I think the only way to look at that is with positivity and find something to laugh at. My second one is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3. So this means that my joints hurt a lot. I'm quite flexible, and because of that my joints can pop out of place quite easily. So for example, with my jaw spasms, generally if it's a really, really bad one, my jaw joint will come out. And it goes back in once the spasm's gone, but it's because of the EDS that this is able to happen. So the two conditions affect each other, and that can have a big impact. I was very lucky that when I met my neurologist, he shook my hand, and at the time my hand really weren't very well. And because of that, he saw just how extreme the positions my body could get into. And he knew instantly that something wasn't right, that my joints weren't normal, something was going on there. And referred me to an amazing consultant who sort of couldn't believe that I hadn't been diagnosed already. At 23, it was a late diagnosis, because EDS is genetic, you're born with it, and there are 10 different types. I think the way I look at it is that I'm lucky that I have the nice type, and I'm going into hospital in March, at the very end of March, March 29th, so a month today, it's a good date today, to have joint rehabilitation, which will be quite an intensive one. So it's physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, you have psychology to help deal with the pain and sort of understand everything that you're doing, and it's 3 weeks of intensive rehabilitation, teaching you basically how to use your joints properly so you're not overextending and causing more damage, which is something that I do quite a lot. And I'm really excited for this because it should hopefully have an impact. And then the third one, again not a disease as such, but it is impacted by the others, is the fact that I have non-epileptic attack disorders. So I have seizures that aren't epilepsy, so in that respect I'm at no risk for myself. But they're pain triggered basically, and I have to be in a lot of pain before this happens. You know, it's not just gonna happen out of the blue. But it can make a big impact because I can be walking down the street, and if the pain gets too much, that's it. It's lights out. And it's basically my brain not being able to deal with it and shutting me off. I've tried various different things to cope with this, and we get in there, like mainly due to my injections and my medication. They're once in a blue moon now, whereas before they were so often that once, twice a month I was being blued and tooed to the hospital, just because I needed IV medications to stabilise me, because we couldn't get anything into me orally simply because I wasn't conscious. And it's an interesting one to have, because like the other two, doctors don't really understand them. They're not always aware of it, and it can be hard for them to try and treat because they don't know what they're doing, and they're not sure what you're dealing with, because as much as you're presenting as a seizure, they can pick up that it's not epilepsy. So it's an interesting one to try and explain when you're conscious. But all three conditions that I have impact each other. So the dystonia impacts the EDS and makes the EDS worse, and then that causes a lot of pain in itself, which then causes seizures. And it's a really vicious cycle to try and manage, which is one of the reasons why awareness is so important. Because without awareness, we don't get research, we don't get the funding for research, and people don't know what they're dealing with. So days like today, and like the week coming up in May, which is Dystonia Awareness Week, are really, really vital to people like myself who have all these conditions. So what I'm going to do later on today, once I get back, is I'm going to write a blog, slightly more detailed than this, just to give you all more an idea. So check the blog out later. Go to dystoniame.com.